well, now should we talk about what are the potential solutions for this?
Well, I have something in mind, but there's no easy solution. But I want to hear your thoughts first. Like, what do you think?
I guess one thought is it possible to make everything more like interface with each other, not like so that you don't have to build abstraction layer on top. Because if, say, these three projects that you have, if they can easily, like if the three framework can have a way to share TypeScript definition internally, like easily, if the TypeScript has some sort of a uniform way to share this TypeScript definition, then you would not need a tool like NX to solve problems. So maybe one solution is the architecture of the bottom layer to be easier to use and to like coordinate by itself. Then you wouldn't need to put the layer on top.
I really like that thought, which is that it's like cut out the middleman. It's right. Like if clearly we have a lot of complexity, and that's a result of the architecture that we have.
Right.
Let's change the architecture from the inside, right? Like there must be something about the architecture itself. Like if we were to do this completely over again, if we could redesign TypeScript from the ground up,
right?
How would we do it so that we avoid these problems? And I really like that thought. But what you're going to need, though, in order to pull that off, well, not to mention that, you don't control TypeScript most likely. But those are, let's not get into that for now. But what you're going to need is a willingness to dig into the internals in order to solve that problem, right?
Right.
So that's a prerequisite. It's like you're gonna need to dig into the internals. Even we're gonna even ignore the fact that we don't control TypeScript. We could, if we wanted to, we could fork TypeScript because it's all open source. We could all of the open source code we actually own because it's all free and anybody can fork anything. And I can make modifications to anything if I want to. Most people don't do that because, that would go against the community, and then you're dividing up and then whatever. But I'm just saying that's actually possible. There's this thing about TypeScript I would like changed. Even if that were feasible, you would still need the willingness to do it. Right, and I think most people shy away from that, though, for obvious reasons. It's a pretty huge undertaking, too. Basically, you're taking on a very large project. TypeScript is a very large project with a lot of complexity within itself, and to understand all of that is a very big undertaking.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of thing is sort of what's needed to when these kinds of problems get especially bad. That's kind of what's needed. The debugger is, in my mind, a puzzle piece in that solution. The role of the debugger is it will allow you to see how things work. We're still in the process of researching this debugger. Like what is a good user interface to put on top of this debugger, so that it'll be easy. Even when you're debugging complicated applications with very complicated flows. How can we do that? I'm thinking along the lines of great visualization along with great search capabilities. Like if you think of how amazing Google search is, like we just take Google search for granted now. You don't even think about it. But there was a time when we did not have Google search. And then we had Google search, and that's an amazing difference, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you can come up with something like that for debugging, right? That where you can do like a search and then you can pinpoint the problem easily. As long as all your frameworks, all your abstractions would have to build on top of the foundation, which the debugger can work off of. You get to see the layers and layers within the debugger if that happened.
Yeah, it will, with the debugger, it will be easier for you to understand the internals. Because it's just hard to just read the code.
Yeah, but I guess short of the debuggers, in a world where we don't have a debugger like that, I would say the principle that I adhere to is don't take over the world. Like don't be ambitious. I think people can often be, myself included, people can often become very ambitious and overly optimistic about how well their abstraction is going to work.
Okay.
You know, you think this is going to be so good, it'll solve all the problems. When you're in that mindset, you will never think there's going to be leaky abstractions. You will never think that. So you don't build it with, but they will need to learn the internals. You often miss that. But I'm saying you need to keep that in mind, right?
Well, I guess another way to make abstraction like like at least people have a way to patch the leak or whatever is maybe sometimes you can make like an open-ended design, something
yes.
But the eject stuff is still a little bit much. I don't know. I guess by open-ended, I'm not sure whether the eject is like what I mean.
Just the open-closed principle. Maybe we should talk about it more next time. Because there's more to be said about it. So there's a Wikipedia article about this. If you go into the Wikipedia article and then you scroll down to the references and then you click on the article by Robert C. Martin. People call him Uncle Bob, but he is the person who has popularized the concept of the open-closed principle. It's the O in his solid methodologies.
I feel like I looked into this in the past. It's because there was a guy in my company who made a talk about this, so that's why I go look it up.
But the principle is actually not invented by Uncle Bob. It was invented by, or maybe invent is too strong, but it was an idea proposed by Bertrand Meyer. Yeah, this is the guy that, but if you click into Uncle Bob's article, that is, I think that's a good article to read, because he wrote it a long time ago, so you will, when you read it, you get where he's coming from. You get that side of things. And I think open-closed principle is in a way trying to address the problems that we're running into. So let's just read that, and we'll talk about it next week. And,